I am not a researcher or a scientist by any means. I do work for Monash University in IT, but that's just a coincidence, really. I'm talking to you really as a concerned citizen, and I've learned a thing or two about koalas in our area over the last few years, and like to share with you what we've also done as our group on the Mornington Peninsula. But firstly, also, I wish to acknowledge the Bunurong and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nations on whose land I'm presenting from today, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. So why are koalas declining on the Mornington Peninsula? It's probably the same story as it is in most of Australia. More than 70% of koala habitat on the Mornington Peninsula is on private property. So it makes it really difficult to ensure that their habitat is protected. The Mornington Peninsula, really, it's a key tourism area for Melbourne, very close to Metro Melbourne, only about 50 kilometers, also from Metro Melbourne. So lots of holiday makers, lots of hobby farms, wineries, lots and lots of small and medium-sized businesses and farms. And so the land here is on the habitat that is left for koalas is very fragmented and declining. Obviously, vehicle strikes, especially during spring and summer. Spring and summer, it's just a bad combination for us because it's breeding season for koalas, and it's also the main tourism season on the Mornington Peninsula. So the roads are busy, koalas are busy, and it's just not a good combination. But also dog and cattle encounters. Disease does play a role. We do have chlamydia and retrovirus on the peninsula, but probably only to a lesser extent. Koalas don't breed that often on the peninsula anymore. At least that's what we thought. Actually, through our work, we've proven that koalas actually still breed in most areas on the Mornington Peninsula, albeit in small numbers. But we do actually get joeys reported to us very, very regularly. Just a view of Metro Melbourne. So it shows your tree canopy cover in Metro Melbourne. And I just look at this sometimes and I'm still amazed that we still have koalas on the Mornington Peninsula, because tree canopy in some areas of the Mornington Peninsula is pretty sparse. Obviously, tree canopy stands in sort of direct correlation to whether or not koalas can be present in the landscape or not. There's not enough trees. There generally is no koalas. We are also noticing more and more how important individual street trees, nature strip trees, and individual paddock trees are for the movement of koalas on the Mornington Peninsula. Sometimes one large tree in the landscape can be the difference of koalas being able to navigate the landscape or not. Just a different view of the Mornington Peninsula again. And the two things I like to talk about here is just the tyranny of small decisions. So again, lots and lots of small to medium-sized properties making decisions about native or indigenous vegetation on their property and removing vegetation, often very much unchecked. Individually, that may not sound to be that much of a problem. We don't have the large-scale land clearing that New South Wales and Queensland are experiencing on the Mornington Peninsula, but lots and lots of small decisions over a period of time still add to a lot of urbanization creeping in from Melbourne and just tree canopy disappearing. The other thing that's interesting is for me, growing up in Germany and driving on the freeway even 30 years ago, at night, you would come home and your windscreen would be covered in bugs, and that would be perceived as normal at the time. These days, you can drive for hours and hours at night and hardly have a single bug hitting your windscreen, and people perceive that as normal, which has changed very, very quickly within a generation. Equally, people coming down from Melbourne to the Mornington Peninsula perceive the peninsula as wonderful and green and beautiful. But a lot of it is paddocks, rolling hills of paddocks and farmland. There's not actually a lot of natural environment. left in some areas of the peninsula. And this shifting baseline syndrome, or what people perceive as normal or as good, can change very, very quickly. Koala sightings on the Mornington Peninsula, you can see that really koalas still occur in low densities in most areas of the Mornington Peninsula, except for the Nepean Peninsula. It's just not the right habitat. It's generally coastal tea tree and coastal vegetation, and definitely not suitable for koalas, but everywhere else koalas are present. Studies have shown that they actually use lots and lots of different properties in a 1 month period. The male koalas in particular can travel huge distances across the peninsula, and they do cross our roads around about 8 times per week, which just gives me anxiety even thinking about it, especially during spring and summer. And it's also, the study showed that in highly fragmented areas of the Mornington Peninsula, koalas seem to be very sensitive to human noise and impacts of just noise in the landscape. The importance of trees, I probably don't have to tell anyone on this Zoom, but the interesting thing in our area is that it does take about 5 years for a koala tree to grow to a decent enough size to be of interest for koalas. So it actually, in the scheme of things, does not take that long, and we can make improvements fairly quickly, but obviously it takes at least about 100 years for really mature trees to form tree hollows for all our birds and other marsupials that need hollows to survive. We obviously try and inform our landowners to plant the right trees and the right vegetation. The key koala trees in our areas are manna gum, swamp gums, and narrowleaf peppermint. And they form part of our planting mix when we conduct revegetation activities. So about our group. So the 2 things that our group really is aiming for is A, to raise awareness about the issues that koalas have on the Mornington Peninsula, and we talk to really anyone and everyone who wants to listen to us, from schools to other groups, businesses on the Mornington Peninsula. And the second key objective is that we are working on habitat restoration activities, mainly on private property, given that most of our land is in private hand. And this year we've planted, we're just about to finish our planting projects and plant around 20,000 trees, mainly on private property, and around 28 different properties that we planted on. So some stats. So our group is just about on, coming up to 300 members. We're a Landcare group registered under Landcare Victoria. We give away lots and lots of trees to the local community because we've got some very capable people and very capable hobby farmers that are very happy to do planting themselves. When we plant, obviously it's a biodiverse mix of trees and shrubs and ground covers. It's not just trees that we're planting. We're not creating tree plantations. But yeah, since 2020, we have given away more than 10,000 trees to the community. We've planted since September 2020, 33,000 plants. And of those, 16,500 were planted so far this year. Actually, since the weekend, it's about 18,000. We did another 2,000 on Saturday and Sunday. And our target, a very ambitious target for this year, was to plant 20,000 plants. We are growing on our social media, which is great to sort of engage the local community. We have a thriving tree propagation project, all purely run by volunteers and people growing trees from local seed in their backyards. And we've installed lots and lots of road signage again this spring and summer. So it's a road signage campaign. The signs only go out over spring and summer in 50 different locations across the Mornington Peninsula to make people, especially our tourists that come down, aware that there's even koalas still on the Mornington Peninsula. A lot of people don't know that we still have koalas. Our group activities, again, we record a lot of koala sightings. conduct nature walks, and try and change the perception of gum trees and native vegetation in our community. We work a lot with authorities and collaborate really with other local groups to achieve good outcomes. I was actually named the Citizen of the Year by the local council here, which again gave really fantastic exposure to our group earlier in the year. And we partner really with many different businesses on the peninsula again to provide good environmental outcomes. Our current project is this one, so that's, we're in our 3rd year. Next year, we're just starting to plan, our project area for next year. We mail out to, lots and lots of landholders in the area, and then whoever responds can become part of our project, and we can again aim to plant around 25,000 plants next winter. We've had an incredible response from the local community. There's so much willingness and excitement around our project and willingness to participate, which has been absolutely outstanding. Our koala signs are out again since last week. Again, just to raise awareness and to try something different and make people aware that there are koalas on our roads. Definitely from an awareness point of view, these have had great effect. Whether or not they drive down roadkill is obviously yet to be seen. This is the 2nd year that we're doing this with 2 of our local councils. And what's next? So we are grappling with the concept of how do we engage new landholders, so people moving to the Mornington Peninsula and buying land. How do we engage them before they remove all the indigenous vegetation that is left on their property? We need to stop the destruction, so we're working with councils very closely. We've got a very engaged council to work out what we can do in the town planning space and how we can make a difference there, and again raising awareness to avoid unsustainable development wherever possible. We are involved in a koala population assessment with Deakin Uni, because really nobody knows how many koalas we have on the Mornington Peninsula. That is definitely something that we want to find out. And really, we're going to continue to collaborate. We are absolutely stronger together than we are individually. I always say it takes, sort of to form a real community around your group to, achieve meaningful outcomes. We collaborate with many other groups and really have formed a good local community on the Mornington Peninsula. And that allows us, hopefully year on year, to scale up revegetation activities. We're trying to keep things simple. We're volunteers, but we're trying to do what we do very well and at scale. And, continue to grow really the reach of our group. And really, I mean, it's so hard in any environmental work that you do these days to become negative and disillusioned, because there's a lot of doom and gloom in the media and everywhere, and we just try to stay away from it as much as possible, stay positive. I firmly believe that you engage more people with positivity and with hope, and hopefully provide a bit of inspiration and sort of ignite that spark to be able to really do something positive, even just in a small realm of your own property. Thank you.